Hey, sixth graders, by now you should have spent some time looking at this unit review. There were a couple questions that seemed to stump you. First of all, on the first page, question 2, B and C here. And a lot of that had to do with looking at finding the change in X and Y. If you look at how X goes up, here it's going up by 1s, and Y is going up by 8s. So the slope is really 8 over 1. In order to find the y-intercept, you have to go all the way back to 0. And if you're at 12, you need to look back at 8 times 12, which is 96, and then take the difference from that with 3 to get negative 93. This was kind of a tricky one. So that's the y-intercept. On problem C, you need to look at the fact that X is going up by 3s when Y is going down by 1s. So you have to find the fact that it's a change of 1 in Y to a change of 3 in X. So therefore, it's 1/3, and it's a negative 1/3. The y-intercept is already there, and so that's why you have these equations. Pay close attention to your equations. If you're not getting these equations correctly in the review, it's going to be hard for you to do that in the test. But focus in on finding a unit rate. Remember, the unit rate is the same as the slope, same as the constant of proportionality, same as the coefficient of x. It's the number that goes before x. All right. Everyone did pretty well on question 4. Make sure that you're showing me the steps you are taking when you solve these problems. All right. You can abbreviate them like I did here, but you must show me the steps you're taking and how you're solving the problems. For question 5, make sure that when you're making your equations, you have variables for both the dependent variable, which is always on this side, which is the y, and the independent variable, which is always the x. So if you want to label them differently, like d for distance and h for hours, that's fine, but it's always in the form of y equals mx plus b, although this one I wrote b plus mx here. M is the slope, or it's the change. It's the rate. I made my graph in the halves for the hours. You didn't have to do it like that. If you didn't, your graph is going to be steeper than mine. That's fine. I added a portion because I wanted to remind you that, so I made a part I on the last page. I wanted to remind you that if you wanted to figure out when the equations are equal, you need to make the two equations. That's the first equation. This is the second equation. You have to make them equal and then solve for the variable. In this case, you were solving for the amount of hours that it would take for both flying and driving to be the same speed. All right, so that was that question. And then here, make sure that you are looking carefully at the direction of your line, thinking about if it's a negative or positive, looking at how high it goes up. Remember, it's the change. I've said this many times. The change in y, it's how high it goes up, over the change in x, how far it goes over. It's always rise and then run. Okay, so take a close look at all of that stuff. I want to talk about the unit test briefly. So let me see if I can find that. May not have that in here. I might have to show you another little video on the test because I'm not seeing it right here. Okay, thanks.